The Exorcist was one of the most successful horror movies to come out of the 70s. Released in 1973, the film worked its way up to an Oscar nomination and it demolished other films at the box office. Although it brought fame and notoriety to horror movies at the time, there was something about the already terrifying film that seemed a bit off. Strange things happened during the shooting of the film, and even stranger things when audiences watched it for the first time. It's difficult to explain and can only be summed up as the curse of The Exorcist. Today we're going to be diving into the dark history behind the classic film and the supposed curse that surrounds it. Also, you can now support Insanity Collection's growth by becoming a Patreon supporter. We have multiple support tiers that you can join, all of which offer insane member benefits. Check it out at patreon.com/insanitycollection to get started. Based on the novel of the same name by William Peter Blatty, The Exorcist tells a chilling tale of a demonic possession. It is said that the novel is based loosely off of a real-life event. When Blatty was a student at Georgetown University, he wrote a paper on an exorcism which inspired his novel. A young man by the pseudonym Ronald Doe was said to be possessed and needed an exorcism in St. Louis, Missouri. When writing the book, names were changed and the story followed a young girl who became possessed instead of a boy, in order to protect identities. As previously mentioned, the film was a huge success at the box office and was one of the highest grossing horror films of its time. With its terrifying images and 70s flair, The Exorcist quickly became a pop culture classic. For those that don't know, the film follows the story of a 12-year-old girl who is possessed by a fictional demon named Pazuzu and her family's journey on trying to save her with the help of two priests. The Exorcist had many iconic and terrifying moments, such as the scene when the 12-year-old Regan was caught stabbing herself with a cross, or her 360 head turn. And who could forget the terrifying demonic spider walk down the staircase? Audience reaction. When the film was first released, watching The Exorcist was said to make audience members become physically sick, causing vomiting and fainting. There are reports of some people blaming the film for miscarriages and heart attacks. One woman reported fainting and falling, causing her to break her jaw. The film was banned in the UK in 1988 and stayed banned for about 11 years due to the audience's reaction to it. The film was also banned in every Middle Eastern country except for Lebanon. During the film's premiere in Rome, audiences had to make their way to the theatre in a torrential downpour, complete with lightning and thunder. This was one of the most intense and horrific films of its time, which scared so many moviegoers because they'd never seen anything like it before. The other horror films at the time, such as Rosemary's Baby, weren't nearly as scary and didn't garner the audience reaction that The Exorcist received. On top of all that, filming the movie didn't exactly go smoothly. Oddities while shooting. Shooting for the film was delayed due to a mysterious fire that started on set. The director of the film, William Friedkin, blames a pigeon or some sort of bird that entered a circuit box and caused the fire. Now there's nothing too strange about a movie set catching on fire, but the odd thing was that there was only one room that was left untouched. The fire got to every inch of the movie set and destroyed everything except for Regan's room, the possessed 12-year-old in the film. It seems odd, don't you think? Along with the fire, there are a lot of deaths and injuries attached to the film, from actual actors to family members of people who worked on the set. Overall, 9 people who were associated with the film have died. Actors Jack McGarren and Vasilisky Maliaros both passed away when the film was in post-production. Both actors played characters in the film that died, which could be seen as a scary coincidence. In 1987, Mercedes McCambridge, the actor who played the voice for the demon Pazuzu, faced a horrible tragedy in which her son murdered his wife and children before taking his own life shortly after. Actress Ellen Burstyn, who played Regan's mother, suffered an injury while on set. When filming another possession scene, Linda Blay, the lead actress playing Regan, was thrown off the bed after a piece of rigging broke off and injured her back. Both actresses suffered from long-term injuries. Shooting the film almost seemed to never come to an end. With the delays of the fire at the beginning, and with injuries of various people on set, it almost seemed like there was something holding on to the film, making the shooting process last painfully long. Reasons. It is suggested that the film has some sort of possession of its own when being played through a projector, which is said to subject the audience to whatever demonic entity surrounds the film. Televangelist Billy Graham said this about the film: "There is a power of evil in the film, in the fabric of the film itself. It is also suggested that The Exorcist uses subliminal messaging throughout it, which allows terrible tragedies to happen upon watching the film. Due to the religious context and connections within the movie, many people felt that it was blasphemous and pure evil. Because of this, Linda Blair had to get escorted everywhere she went 6 months after the film's release due to all the death threats she was getting every day for playing a possessed child. There is no proof of any sort of subliminal messaging attached to the film, as well as any proof to any sort of demonic entity attached. These are all just rumors and speculations. While The Exorcist didn't scare modern viewers as much as the 70s crowd, it's important to remember that horror movies were completely different back then, and the mass hysteria following the movie could have just been from genuine fear felt by the audience members. These days we have horror films like Stephen King's It, which became the #1 highest grossing horror movie of all time after its release in 2016, knocking The Exorcist down to #2. With today's movie making technology, horror films are much more terrifying because of how realistic everything appears now. At the time, the general audience felt the same way about how real The Exorcist looked and felt. It is also said that the curse surrounding the film might have just been purely for marketing. It makes sense, since the film doubled its shooting time and cost a lot more than anticipated to make because of the fire on the set. If it was all a marketing scam, it certainly worked, as the movie went on to be the first horror film to be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. While there's a certain amount of evil surrounding it, there's also a certain amount of undeniable luck with The Exorcist. Always stay insane.